It's actually quite a nice day outside as well.
Yeah, freezing cold though.
I walked down to get some milk for tea and coffee, and it wasn't that. It was quite nice.
It was lovely.
Quite nice. What do you mean no sound? It was the fucking launch screen. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine. I've checked the volume. The volume's fine, Joe. You're looking worried.
It's going up and down.
I know. I can see it from here. It's fine. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine Tuesday. It's actually beautiful outside. It is a bit chilly, like Joe says, on this November day, on the 12th of November. And we're back with the Liam and Joe AoS show. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Sorry, I had something in my eye when I was driving, and it's like left it a bit.
Yeah. We're back to talk about AoS, Joe, for the first time in for ages.
I know.
If you haven't already, please make sure you smash all those magical YouTube buttons for us. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the content. I've already pressed it. Smash the subscribe button if you haven't already. Stop unsubscribing, you bastards. And then hit that bell notification icon if you want to be notified every single time we go live or drop a new video. Alternatively, if you become a member of the Great Hall, of which we already have 15 this afternoon, become a member of the Great Hall and you can get yourself in Discord. Hit the right reaction roll, and every single time we go live with some content, you will be notified when we go live, schedule a stream, or post a new video. Yeah. So there you go, bonuses for you. And today we're actually back to AoS for a day. A lot of people have been worried that we cancelled it. We haven't cancelled AoS. It's just a series of unfortunate events had meant that we hadn't done it. I haven't done it specifically for a few weeks.
Yeah.
And also, I feel dog shit today. And Luce was like, you should stay at home. You sound awful. You look like you feel awful. I was like, yeah, but next Tuesday there's no AoS game because Eddie's here.
Yeah.
For 40k. He can only do Tuesdays, and I've really missed Eddie, so I've conceded and said, we'll just play 40k on a random Tuesday for a change, just so we can bring Eddie back, because I've missed Eddie, and I love Eddie. So we're going to be doing 40k game next Tuesday, and I was like, we can't miss today's AoS stream. So Joe's going to carry us for the next, till 11 PM, so 12 hours or so.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
10 hours.
It'll be all right.
Yeah, I believe in you.
Yeah, I got to play the man babies.
You've got to play Fire Slayers tonight as well. That's the other reason why we can't miss an AoS stream.
Yeah.
Because we finally got to get you on the table with Fire Slayers. Okay? So we're back today with the Liam and Joe AoS show. And today's topic, so what I do, I've said this to you a million times before, what I do when it comes to Liam and Joe shows, I go on the Warhammer community page, I go across to the relevant system, AoS on Tuesdays, 40k on Thursdays, and I look at the articles and decide what we're going to talk about. And what I noticed was there's not a lot out for AoS.
No, unless
not a
you
lot
count,
going on.
So I says that. I said, like, apart from the Christmas boxes.
Which I think are pretty good.
I actually think out of the 40k and AoS has the best Christmas boxes. The only thing I don't like about the AoS boxes is that they've gone, here's the spearhead, add more stuff to it.
Yeah.
Which annoyed me slightly, because I was like, I want everything that's not in the spearhead.
In the Christmas box.
In the Christmas box.
So you buy both.
And then you've got like one of everything.
Yeah, I get that. Although I think they haven't done a terrible job of them.
Oh, no, like they're still incredible boxes.
Yeah, I think they're pretty decent. Value for money overall. So I was looking and I was like, there isn't much about right now. And I looked at things like releases. Now, AoS was released in June, July time.
Yeah.
We're now November. So we're talking 4 or 5 months. And so far we've seen Ratmen, Skaven, and we've seen Stormcast, and
Chaos is on the horizon.
That's
basically
all we've got.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the original pace of Warhammer 40k, and now I know the current pace of Warhammer 40k is very, very different, and it's slowed down to a near grinding halt right now.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about the pace of 40k when it released, and I was like, was it the same?
Yeah.
It felt faster.
There was like a month and a bit. Well, the difference is, right, so when 10th edition dropped, there was a good. I felt like the release of 10th edition went on for fucking ages, because we had like 2 weeks. We had like a month.
It was
before,
3 week release period.
3 week release period. For one of those weeks, we could only play what was in the bloody box set.
Yeah, which was annoying.
Which was horrible. Oh no, it wasn't. It was like for 2 weeks we could only play what's in the box set, and then the week before we could play with what's in the box set, but you could like double or triple it up if you had the models to do it.
But you couldn't talk about the points.
Yeah, you could do anything.
And we didn't actually have the designers commentary at that point.
Oh my god. And then we had about a month of essentially playing the game wrong because the designers commentary hadn't come out properly. But it went really quickly because obviously we had access to like loads and loads of armies for like a month. And then the Space Marines came out, and the Tyranids, and then the Space Marines. So it was all right because we had loads and loads of armies. Whereas Age of Sigmar, we're starting fresh.
I think there's a couple of reasons why I feel like AoS feels slower as well. I feel like AoS's relaunch was successful. And what I mean by successful was the game came out and it pretty much just worked. We've had to make a couple of tweaks here and there, but comparatively with the 34-page designer's commentary, there wasn't a 3 or 4 week of, oh, this is actually different, or this doesn't work the way we thought it was. It was just, here's the game, it works. Which makes it, I think, feel slower because it just works.
Yeah.
And I also think that because the differences between a 40k codex versus the index is so significant, comparatively with the difference between an AoS battle tome and the index, I feel like, again, it feels like you're not learning loads.
Yeah.
Because it's just like tweaks and updates. So for me, I feel like that might be part of the reason why it feels slower. But I was also thinking, because I've seen some complaints out there, this isn't just from me, I've seen some complaints on social media that the AoS release rate is too slow. But I've also seen people historically people complaining that the 40k release rate is too fast.
Yeah.
Hence, I have the title that we've got. Is AoS too slow or is 40k too fast? Or are they both about right? Because sometimes I feel like, and we can be guilty of this, I specifically can be very guilty of this, and I hold my hands up. Sometimes I feel like GW must be sat there going, we can't fucking win.
No, you can't. And you got to think, right, in 40k terms, we're getting one codex, well, up until now, when they went, we're not releasing anything for 3 months, which I think is ludicrous. They were like, up until then, you're getting like one codex every 2 months, essentially. But it also feels fast because the game changes every 3 months.
Yeah, I guess.
Right, and in the last year and a bit, we've had vast periods of time where like nothing has happened.
Yeah.
You know, like some days we're like, what are we going to talk about today? We just can't talk about anything because nothing's happened. There's been no major tournament drama. Games Workshop's not fucking released anything. And like there's been no rules updates.
Yeah.
So it's like, cool.
Do you think you prefer one to the other in terms of release rate? Or do you think there's a happy medium that they haven't found yet?
So I think they need to go to, what they should, I personally think so they should have done one codex every month.
So Deathwalker says 40k is too slow considering how frequently they renew the edition.
Well, in 8th edition, we had index for 6 months, and then it was like 2 codexes a month, which was like breakneck speed. Like it was almost like overload. But at the time, obviously, I was working for another channel, and it was like
you can say them.
Too much.
I don't mind.
Too much going on. Whereas now, I think that it is too slow. So they're like, but what we also need to consider, right, is that Games Workshop from 7th, 8th edition to now, you've got 40k, AoS, Necromunda, Horror's Heresy, Old World, Warcry, Necromunda, and Underworlds. Imperialis, you know?
Blood Bowl.
Blood Bowl.
Did you say Blood Bowl?
I didn't say Blood Bowl. So you've got like 10 game systems that they're trying to put out. And obviously some of them are kind of they just slip some in, everyone's and then you have like a week where they go, one book's out this week.
Do you think GW sometimes are just a massive victim of their own success?
Oh, definitely. They are, but they're a big company, like a multi-million or hundreds of millions of pounds company that seems to think it's a family-run, mum and pup kind of business.
I sometimes, like, it's interesting, when you list off the number of games that they have, I sometimes look at those number of games and I think, they're trying to do too much.
Yeah.
They have too many games. And I feel like they could benefit from slimming the number of games down, but then they're going to piss people off. Because if you remove Blood Bowl or you remove Underworlds, there are people that play them and they'll piss them off.
Yeah.
Chat is shouting about this right now, and I agree with Chat massively. I think one of the biggest problems with 40k at the moment, at least, and I think AoS is probably going to be the same, is I don't like a 3-year release cycle. I think 3 years is too soon to be changing editions. And I have said before, I absolutely believe they should have a 5-year release cycle.
I think 5. I like. You got to think, right? What's happened in the last 3 years? Like 3 years is a long time.
It's not, Joe. I don't think it is.
Since the last 3 years, we were in COVID in 9th edition.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
In the before times.
In the before times. There's been wars, multiple prime ministers and prime ministers.
I mean, that's not saying much, though, is there?
You know?
When some of those prime ministers last 42 days, Joe.
I
say
know,
there's
but
been
you've
multiple
got
prime
to
ministers,
think,
it's a lot.
right? Like I've moved like 3 times, kind of.
To the door, down the stairs, and back up again.
Yeah, you know, like some people have had multiple jobs in that time period.
Yeah.
You know, or multiple jobs within the same company. You know.
Well, if you think about it, when 9th edition launched, we weren't working together.
No. So it's like three. People think, 3 years goes really, really quickly, and it does when you get to the end of the 3 years.
I think 3 years goes very, very quickly.
Yeah.
But loose equates life to a toilet roll.
Yeah, but in your household, that's like a day, isn't it?
Pots and kettles, Joe. Pots and fucking kettles.
I go outside.
She equates loose equates life to a toilet roll. So when you're like very, 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 very young, the toilet roll's massive, and pulling a whole cycle feels like ages. When you get to the end of the toilet roll, when life goes further, it's just really quick, and you've done a whole roll. Which is an interesting analogy. I think it's true. I feel like now, for me personally, I feel like 3 years goes like that and takes no time at all. Now, I do take your point. I do think about where I was 3 years ago to where I was now. 3 years ago, I was still working for Rolls-Royce.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing this full time. We didn't have this studio.
Yeah.
You know, the studio is only a year old. If you think about the amount of content we put out in this studio, to suggest that it's only a year old, a lot of people go, "Fuck off, really?" Yeah, literally a year this month. Like this weekend coming up is essentially the 1 year anniversary of being in this studio.
Yeah. So I just think like if Games Workshop, because we're 18 months in now to the release of 10th edition, and we've only got like half the books out.
Yeah.
Well, I think by end of 18 months you should have had all the books out. So then you've got the rest, like the rest of your time to go, like just play with your books. Bed in the edition.
I think it's interesting with what Dan says in chat as well. Like, actually, interestingly, that maybe 3 years feels like it's not enough in 10th edition because the game almost feels just about now sort of finished.
Yeah.
So we've had like a whole year of an edition where we've been like, this is. So we're now finally setting into what is a normal groove.
Yeah.
They've added in fucking shit like pivot, and they changed dev wounds and changed dev wounds again. They've changed this and changed that, etc. And I wonder if that's part of what it is. Like the game didn't come out finished. They spent 6 to 12 months finishing the game, and now we're like, cool. So we're at 10th edition.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it doesn't. And yet we go in a year and a half. They're going to change it again.
But I think like 6 months ago, we were like, this game is. But I think it's taken a year and a half to get the game out of beta, essentially.
Yeah, I agree.
And the problem is all the books aren't out, so you have to spend the rest of the time constantly trying to rebalance and FAQ the games, because all the books that are going to come out are going to be wildly all over the place. Because as we know, Games Workshop haven't been exactly reliable in releasing codexes. Like there's no like. The worst thing to have at the moment is a actually okay balanced codex, because it's actually quite it's the worst of the situations, because if your codex is wildly broken, like Sisters for instance, you've got a really good army and you can just run around tournaments just kicking people's shit in basically.
Yeah.
And you're having a whale of a time, and then Games Workshop eventually goes, no, we fucked up. Back down you go. But it's still really, really good. They haven't fixed those problem codexes, really.
Maybe.
But they just go, more points. And then it's like, your codex that came out really, really strong, that was really, really good, is now really, really like, someone sold my phone number again.
You're so popular, Joe.
Recently. I keep getting phone calls from random phone numbers now. So like your codex comes really strong, and then they're like points, and then you can feel a bit like deflated, right? Or your codex comes out and it's garbage, right? Really bad, admech, right? And then within 6 months, you can't even use the codex that you bought, because like none of those rules are the same. You have to use the app.
Yeah.
Whereas if your codex comes out and it's just kind of average, middling, like Tau, like Chaos Space Marines kind of thing, like Necrons, it's just like, meh. It's a good book in it. It's all right. You know, got.
I still feel like with any edition that's a 3-year release cycle, how many factions exist in AoS? Right, I know you've got the sort of grand factions. You've got Order, Chaos, Death, Destruction. There's what 8 to 9 in Order, like 5 in Chaos, 4 in Destruction.
Yeah, about that.
4 in Death or something like that.
Have a look.
Roughly, so we're talking like 20 factions in total, roughly speaking. Someone will put it in chat and be accurate about it. I don't care about being accurate.
Yeah.
I'm just saying loosely, right? If you think about releasing a battle tome every single month from release, you're near 2 years into a 3-year cycle before every battle tome's out.
Yeah.
And I still think that means that the people that get battle tomes released at the end then have 14 to 16 months, which is a reasonable amount of time to play a faction before the edition changes.
Yeah.
You're not as happy as if you were Stormcast Skaven who came out at the beginning, but you get some time. What I want to avoid is the old World Eaters Guard scenario from 10th edition. From 9th edition in 40k, whereby you get a World Eaters and Guard codex in the January-March time, and then June they change the codex. They change the edition. So I feel like AoS feels slower, probably because it's more polished, probably because overall it is a better put together game. It didn't need so many changes. And it does actually feel like 4th edition is just 4th edition, and we don't have this scenario like we have in 10th, where we're playing what kind of feels like a 10.5 because the amount of changes they've made, which is an absolute kudos to the AoS team, and we should reward them for it. But I'm like, but the game works, team. So get the fucking books out and get people playing with their battle tomes, because I think this practice of codex is released in March. Oh, by the way, it's June. Here's a new edition. You've had 3 months. You've paid 35 quid for a codex. And you've had 3 months before changing the edition. Is shitty. And I think people should feel aggrieved if they were a World Eaters or Guard player from 9th edition. I think they should feel a little aggrieved.
Do you think they have to spread it out though for monetary reasons?
I suspect.
So it's all about targets, though, isn't it?
I don't manage a business at this level. I have managed a business at that level, but not in retail. It's about financial forecasting, I'd imagine, and I think it's about making sure the shareholders are happy. And so if you, in an edition life cycle of 3 years, if you released everything in the first 12 months and your profits went through the roof, and then in the second and third year you don't release everything and your profits drop again, despite still being profitable, your profits drop, I suspect it doesn't look good from a business perspective. Again, I'm not an expert on this chat. There'll be people in chat significantly more qualified than I am. So I think it's about making sure that chart of profitability stays relatively consistent. I suspect also that there's a theory that by spreading the books right out, they are more likely to sell more. So people out there at the moment will have no idea when their Grey Knights Codex is coming. So it's not on any roadmap, those hyper detailed roadmaps that gave us all that information. It's not on there.
No.
So someone might go, I don't want to wait. I don't know when they're coming. I don't want to wait. I'll buy Necrons because it's out. I know it's there straight away. If they drop everything in a year and you know that's coming, people might be like, I'm just going to wait for Grey Knights. I'm not going to buy Necrons. I don't know how detailed that is. I don't know how much money they make from perhaps that as a theory, but I also suspect there's a production problem. So even though the books are printed in China, all the new kits are still made in the UK. So I suspect that they just can't manage the production of dumping everything in 12 months. But here's the thing. I don't know why. So I'd imagine China could probably step up production to do books in 12 months. It's China. Just have a few more kids, get them working in the factory. However, if you didn't necessarily tie every model release in with a new codex and went, here's your codex, and sometime in the next 2-3 years you're going to get new models, would people be happy with that? I think they probably would.
But then obviously they had what they used to do in the older editions, and this was even in like 8th editions. If your codex came out and then they released new models for your army, the rules for those models came out in like a campaign book, didn't they? Like Gilliman was in a campaign book, his rules.
Was he Fracture of Beltan? No. Fracture of Beltan was Yunari, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
So that had the Yunari rules in it.
The old, God You Need or whatever,
Yeah, so like, and then, was it the Cadia stands? Or, yeah, so one of the Cadia campaign books had his rules in Celestine's rules. No, was it Celestia? No, the Inquisitor lady,
Greyfax.
and Belisario Call.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So
They came in one box, remember?
Yeah. And I thought that was like really, really cool. They could do that now, kind of thing. Like, I still don't think that we've got all of the Space Marine units yet.
Yeah, I think that I would rather. If they went 12 months, here's where your codex is, and for the next 2 years you're going to get model releases alongside campaign books, and the rules for those models will be in the campaign books. I'm actually kind of okay with that.
Yeah.
I quite like that because you're getting progressed narrative.
Yeah.
You're potentially going to get more missions because they almost always come with missions,
Yeah.
more rules and stuff. And you've got your codex already, so you're like, cool, I've got my codex. Happy days. I don't feel like I'm being.
They made the mistake of doing in, is it 8th or 9th edition, where they go, here's your codex, here's a random supplement on the same weekend.
Yeah, that was shitty.
And it was, I remember the Drakari one came out, and then they sold a supplement which had a Drakari witch cult in it, which was broken as shit.
It was just the best one.
Yeah.
So you basically had to buy both.
Yeah, and it was mental. But no, I think like if they could now, if they went, here's new Assault Terminators, here's like a new Lysander, here's a new, I don't know, Raven Guard character kind of thing.
There's a White Scars character actually on a bike.
On a bike, yeah. And we've put them in this campaign book.
Yeah.
You know, all the rules, just buy the book, play a cool campaign, done.
If you ever do White Skies, you're going to have to do some modelling or kit bashing to put Coruscant Khan
I
on
have already.
rollerblades.
Oh, I didn't do that.
No?
No.
You just raise him off his base, put rollerblades on.
No, I put him on a cool Heresy jet bike thing.
Did you?
And I was going to run him as
Samael.
Samael. Yeah. So they just become a Dark Angels army.
But they look like White Skies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that bikes are terrible in this edition.
Yeah, so I don't want supplements. I don't want to have loads and loads of supplements. Although Space Marines kind of already do with Dark Angels. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm going to reiterate this. I actually feel like supplements nowadays are less of a problem simply because the GW app is quite good. If we take away the paywalling of codexes where codes are hidden behind a £35 book you might not want, let's be fair, the function of the app is pretty good.
Yeah. I always feel like Kill Team has replaced supplements in a way.
Okay, interesting.
Because how do we get new units for armies now that aren't in their codexes and aren't related to any kind of 40k release? Always in Kill Team. The new Aquilans kind of thing. Right, we're getting Ratlins in a Kill Team box set. We're getting the new tank.
Does AoS do the same with Warcry?
No.
Kind of?
Yes and no.
Sort of?
Yeah, kind of thing, but they're like, it's the same thing, yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
No to yes.
Yeah, but with no, but no cool narrative to go with it, you know? Yeah. Apart from the narrative is in an entirely separate game system kind of thing. Which is kind of cool in a way, but also a bit annoying because it doesn't progress the narrative. So like all they've done now is like, there's a planet with a giant cannon on it, and everyone's fighting over that cannon. This is how we now insert new kill teams in.
My knowledge of the AoS narrative and the progression of the AoS narrative is minimal. I don't know the AoS narrative what at all, and I kind of struggle to get into it really. Yeah. My knowledge of the 40k narrative is better, but I'm still not as up to date as you are.
I really liked, like, Warcry was a really good, interesting narrative where it was all chaos war bands fighting for like supremacy to be inducted into Archeon's kind of like retinue, kind of thing. And it was quite cool. So it was like chaos wartime, whereas now it's just a bunch of war bands fighting each other. It was like Underworlds was very, very similar to Wartime, because Wartime, the narrative behind Wartime was a meteor hit Wartime, destroyed it, and then everyone was trying to get all like the precious fancy stones kind of thing, which is kind of what Underworlds was. But the problem with Underworlds is that those kind of tombs don't really relate to the full game very well.
Does Warcry? Is Warcry? What I find interesting about Warcry is I feel like it's both the same as Kill Team but different. So it's scaled down skirmish battles in the universe where the main game exists. But I'll be brazen enough to say, even with the recent new release, I reckon the majority of Kill Team teams sold are to 40k players. And I
100%.
feel like the reverse is true for Warcry. So the most Warcry warbands sold are for Warcry.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, I'd say that. Unless like the Warcry team, the AoS Warcry rules are incredibly good. I think, like for instance, like the Lumineth Realm Lords team is probably better on the table than the Wilder Corps for these cities. So people that are playing Warcry are more likely to buy it for Warcry than the larger game. I think the AoS players might buy it because they're just pretty models.
Yeah.
Whereas like in 40k, so many people. I don't know anyone that plays Kill Team. Not a single. And like
Chat will,
not to brag, I know a lot of people.
This
but
is where chat will go. I play Kill Team. But I'm with you.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who actually plays Kill Team.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that have bought multiple Kill Team boxes, taken the team they want out, kept the terrain to go on their table because it's cool, fun terrain for their table, and then they've just sold off the Kill Team they don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have bought Scorpions.
Yeah.
We've got Mandrakes. We've got the Aquilins.
Aquilins, yeah. I've got the Aquilins built.
GW are very kind enough to send us all the Kill Team stuff, and they're amazing for doing that. And our pitch to them was, we're not playing Kill Team.
Yeah.
We'll use all of it in 40k.
Yeah,
and we are doing.
We are, yeah. I need to have I need to like book like 2 weeks off. I might do it. My Christmas period might just be building Kill Team terrain and painting Kill Team terrain.
Well, that's not time off then, Jay.
Yeah.
That's you painting and building for stuff that goes on stream.
I know, but
it's not time
it's not
off.
like
no, you.
But it's not like
no.
It's not like part of like my rota, my schedule.
But we can. You absolutely should not. If you're booking time off, you should take time off. And if you're going to hobby, you just do shit you want to do, not stuff that's for the stream.
I hate taking time off.
I know.
I hate it.
I know. But you need to take time off that's for you.
It's just
to do
so
you
unproductive.
Things. No, but it's still for you to do you things.
Yeah. I will. Build a cool terrain.
That's not you things. That's channel things.
Yeah, but anything I build and paint inevitably goes on the channel.
No, that's different.
Unless
though.
I'm playing, I don't know.
Saying it inevitably goes on the channel is entirely you things. So one of the things you have to do on your to-do list, not on my to-do list, is you want to make this giant fucking salamanders army. I couldn't give a flying fuck about having another loyalist power armored army on stream right now. Don't really care for it. So I've got you doing other things.
Yeah.
For example, you're about to start painting Eldar stuff. Because you and I both know that mine might be ready by 12th edition, right? So you're going to be painting Eldar stuff. Because our Eldar army isn't actually as well-rounded as I'd like it to be. Because I have one of most unit of aspects, but I'd actually like 2 or 3 of each units, and et cetera, et cetera. So, say for example, you took 2 weeks off and you're like, in my 2 weeks off, I'm just going to do my salamanders. I'm like, we don't need it in the channel. And it doesn't mean it won't show on channel.
Yeah.
Because you might be like, I want to bring them on the stream. You can bring them on the stream. That's perfectly fine. But it's not in our to-do list as a business.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But to go, I'm booking time off to build and paint terrain that we need for the channel. No, that's work stuff, mate. You should be paid to do that.
Yeah, but I am. Holiday pay.
No, all right, it's not the same.
It is.
Time off should be to do what you want to do, and for you to be able to relax and chill, not be like, oh, I can get all this extra terrain stuff
I
done.
build and paint models when I relax and chill. Same thing.
When he plays the I'm hard done by cards, I try and look after him, chat, as best I can. I try.
He doesn't. This is a piss I'm drinking.
At least it's warmed up. I try, chat, I try.
Yeah, I just think Games Workshop haven't really invested in anything narrative. Do you remember when we were fighting Tyranids? That lasted long.
Who was fighting Tyranids?
The Imperium was fighting a new Tyranid, like, baddie. And Games Workshop were like, Tyranids are boring now. We'll ignore the fact that they're in the starter box set. Because the whole Leviathan box set was about High Fleet Leviathan pushing into the Segmentum, you know? It was like the second or third Tyrannic War. Everyone was massing.
Fourth, wasn't it? Fourth Tyrannic War, isn't it?
Fourth Tyrannic War. They were like, this is a big problem. Like, Tyranids are taking over. All these new bioforms are coming along. And they're like, oh, we're fighting Necrons now. But we're going to fight the Necron campaign that we were doing an entire 3 years ago.
And then straight into Prime Nexus.
Yeah,
That's it.
they were like,
no real like logical transition either. Just here's Prime Nexus.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and now everyone's fighting over a big cannon. Forget about the Tyranids; they're not a threat anymore.
Joe's trying what, Sean? Single-handedly under years of labour relations.
Yeah, but yeah,
Brilliant.
I just kind of feel like they were like Games Workshop's like narrative team is all over the fucking place.
But is that not? Do you not think that's directly related to the pace? Sometimes that things are coming out.
Not really.
Do you
Brian
think
Nexus didn't come out with the Necron.
Do you think right? So this is interesting actually. It's not quite so AoS related, but Leviathan came out as a mission deck.
Yeah.
It was all called Leviathan. Everything was Leviathan. You're right. Everything was about the Tyranids invading again. And then a year on, it's here's Prior Nexus.
Yeah.
And I think the reason for Prior Nexus is because we just needed to call it a different mission deck, and here's some shoehorn narrative to make it fit. And I wonder if actually we didn't need Prior Nexus. It could have just been an update of the narrative for Leviathan, but it's still Tyranids.
I would have liked it to go like they could have gone. So 3 years. They could have gone Leviathan, Kraken, Behemoth.
Interesting.
You know,
could have done, yeah.
Because like this is a three-pronged push of different hive fleets coming in, and obviously each one has a different playstyle. One's monster-based, one's infantry.
But do you not think they could have gone, right, it's a 3-year release cycle. We already know in our minds, because we might not have communicated, but we know in our minds already, we're going to change the mission pack every 12 months, right?
Yeah.
So why wasn't the first one not Leviathan, Vanguard, or whatever, the scouting party, 2 main event, 3
the pushback, or something, whatever.
Better words than that is, of course, but do you know what I mean? Like you could do that instead. You could do feeder organisms at the end. You could do Vanguard organisms at the front.
Yeah.
You could do it that way, and then you could have done over the course of the whole of 10th edition. You could have 3 mission decks. There's the Tyranid invasion and the fight back. I think that would have been cooler to do than going, we're just switching to Prior Nexus now.
Yeah.
And then 11th edition happens. Cool, do Prior Nexus then.
Yeah.
And then do a 3-stage Necron awakening.
Like we've had, it resulted in fuck all. I think the biggest takeaway was Leviathan ate some Custodes DNA, and now they're making a giant farm planet, which is lore that they've kind of they've shoehorned in, and then written that in an obscure book or war compost where like Tyranids are making a giant brain planet.
Yeah.
And it's like, now they're just gonna do that for a couple hundred years.
Excuse me, chat. I'm sorry. I'm not well. I don't know if I've mentioned it. Anywho, we're half hour in now, which means we jump into chat. If you've got any thoughts on anything we spoke about so far, anything at all, feel free to chuck them on a colourful postcard for us, and then we will guarantee to get to your comment. What you can also do, if you really want to support us, the best way of supporting us, in fact, the thing that makes us the most money every single month, is you can gift memberships. Give someone else a little bit of a peek behind the proverbial curtain so they can come and have a look in Discord. Maybe they'll decide to upgrade themselves or keep their own membership in the future. It's super helpful. We do see a small percentage of people that are gifted memberships becoming members all by themselves, which means next month, if you continue to gift, slowly but surely those membership numbers go up. It's super important to us. It is the majority source of our revenue. So we're going to jump into the super chats now. A lot of this happened before you even came to the building, before you even turned up. Lobby Panda called us slackers. Thank you for the 2. You're amazing.
Sean says the man watching the internet on his lunch break.
Yeah. Sean, thank you. I don't think he's even on his lunch break. Sean, thank you for the 2. I don't always super chat before stream.
Yeah.
He doesn't always do it, no.
No.
So
that is a statement of fact.
Alex, thank you for the 2. I'm just chatting, so someone has to read it out. Sean, thank you for the 2. Save Mr. the Carl from Tyrants. He's nowhere near Tyrants. He's at work. He's doing his job.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you.
Maybe, like, I don't know, is he being abused by a Tyranid player?
I don't know.
Or, like...
You have to play 40
Are you tyrannical as a boss?
I mean, you're the only employee, Joe, so you'd have to tell the world whether you think that's true or not.
I don't know if you could be a tyrant over one person. You have to have, like, a small empire.
I don't know. I feel like I try my best.
You could be abusive, but that's not tyrannical.
I feel like I try my best to try and look after you as best I can.
I try my best to try.
Of course.
I don't try my best to do.
I do. Well, you can't. I can't say I do look after you because only really you know that. I can try and look after you. You can be like, actually, I think I am quite well looked after. You'd be like, I don't think I'm looked after. I'm trying my best to look after you. Yeah.
I never agree. I never say nice things.
Not on the internet. You always wait till the cameras are off.
Yeah.
Hubris D, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships.
Thank you. I hope that you never have one of those tiny fish swim up your urethra.
Strong.
Yeah.
Strong. Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
Stick Monkey, thank you for the 5. It's a strong start to the week, that, Joe.
Yeah.
Stick Monkey, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships.
I hope you grow a barbed penis like a cat.
Why would I? How? Why is that a benefit?
I don't know. It'd be like a really shit superhero, wouldn't it?
Okay.
Yeah. That's how he takes down criminals.
Poor old Mrs. Stick Monkey.
With his barbed penis.
Okay, Demagogue, thank you for the 2. Joe, repeat after me. I love Fire Slayers.
I love the rules of Fire Slayers.
Okay,
That's all you can have.
that's a positive
I
start.
don't like the models or the lore, but they've got good rules. You know, we do this every week, Kev, right? Right? You're never going to get me to like Fire Slayers unless you somehow produce me an entirely different model range of my choice.
Which GW aren't going to do.
Which ain't games what I'm going to do, because like, everyone's like, oh, the Underworld team's really nice. It's nice, but I don't like the aesthetic. They're not dwarves. They're like dwarfs if someone on drugs tried to draw dwarfs described to them by a blind man who'd had them explained to him.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not like classic dwarfs. Like
They're a lazy design.
yeah. And I think they're a range that would really, really benefit from monopose. Because, I've said this before, all their heads, because they're all like multi-pose models, all their heads, are, like their beards are just like
Yeah.
big square things. There's no flow, there's no movement.
But monopose, they'd also suffer from monopose because you need so many of them.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
But like have more variety in the army, you know?
Yeah, they do need a bit of a
Because the problem
fleshing out.
is that when you look at the kit and the models, as I explained, like I showed this to Brom the other week, he was like, I don't know what any of they are, because they all just look the same. He's not a dwarf racist, he's just saying that it's like all the heads, bodies, and legs look the same. It's just what they've got in their hands, but what are in their hands look the same. Whereas if you look at the classic dwarf line, miners look like miners because they've got pickaxes and candles on their heads, you know, and they're all wearing mining gear. Like hammerers are hammerers because like they've got cool armor and massive fucking hammers. You know, iron breakers have got like they look similar, but they've got big shields and axes. And then handgunners are wearing more casual clothes, but they've all got massive handguns. Whereas the Slayer army is naked man, stupid hat, terrible beard, obscure stick weapon in hand.
So we could cosplay you then as...
Oh, easy. I could. It just annoys me, especially when you look at the other dwarf plastic releases that we've had. Old Grombindle, what's his name? Gotrek.
He's a beautiful model.
The new Slayer King for Old World. Like the dwarf kits that Games Workshop are putting out are stunning models. It's just the Fire Slayer range is just something. Look at the Sky Dwarfs, all incredible.
I'd need to build some Fire Slayers to actually decide whether I do or don't like them, because I am kind of ambivalent. I don't think they're terrible. I think on the whole I quite like them, but I do get what you're saying. But I actually quite like the range on the whole.
I think if I said to Brom, if I was ever going to do Fire Slayers, if I was ever in a situation where I was forced to have to do Fire Slayers, I would just make the army all the same unit with limited characters, because then you just have one card. Because they all look the same, so you just all run the same. Or 2 units and have like different bases or something.
I feel like on the whole I quite like the range. I'd have to put them together though to see what the posability is like to try and solve some of the specifically beard.
Yeah, because if you look at the Cadron Overlords, it's a very good aesthetic. It's quite like the model quality is a lot better. I know there was like an entire edition between
the
model release.
I'm quite a Fire Slayer. I go as far as I'm quite a Fire Slayers fan on the whole.
Yeah,
I just wish there was more. Like, what I don't like is the fact that you've got 4 units that are made out of one kit. Yeah. That annoys me. That's why they look so similar, because it's literally one kit. But hey. Hubris D, thank you for the 5, who says iPad Fund. That's because I spoke to Apple today.
Yeah.
They brought out a new iPad Pro. This is not this one. My other one at home is a very, very old iPad Pro, and I was using it yesterday. It's starting to slow down a little bit. I was like, I wonder. So I did some research.
Did you take the other one from here?
Yeah, that's my iPad Pro
Okay.
that I've got at home now. I use it at home when I don't want, or I can't bother to turn the whole computer on. I was like, I might trade in my MacBook and iPad Pro for a new iPad Pro and just use that because they've got a new keyboard and it does basically everything that both those devices do in one device. I was like, that's probably worth doing. After trading, they wanted those two devices. They wanted like 1,500 quid.
Fucking hell.
And I was like, no. My MacBook Air it still does everything I need it to do, really. The iPad Pro is a little bit more powerful.
Do you think that with Apple, you just pay for the name?
You pay a lot for just the name, Joe. Yeah, you do, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely, without doubt. There's Apple tax on things like gifteds and stuff. There is absolutely an Apple tax on buying the product.
Yeah.
And I've never really had a massive issue with paying that tax because I've never had an issue with any Apple device ever. Everything just fucking works, and it just works every time. I never have a problem with it. So I don't mind it too much. But when it's an upgrade I don't need, I just want, and it's a 1,500 quid difference, I said to Thanes, I went to speak to Apple, and they wanted 50, and so that's where that comes from.
Yeah, like my phone contract, I probably paid 20 quid, 20 quid for my contract a month and about a tenner for the phone. Because every time you get a phone contract now, you have to basically pay a loan to buy the phone in the first place.
I don't. I pay for my handset outright.
Yeah.
I just pay my minutes and data and stuff.
Yeah. So, but I can't just buy a phone. So it's one of those like I have to pay the monthly thing.
Yeah.
So, and I got Samsung. What if I wanted to go to iPhone? That 20 quid turns to like 100 quid a month.
Yeah.
For like essentially what is the same. When iPhone go, we've got a new universal charging port. Like we've put universal Bluetooth on our phones. I'm like, that is not advertising. That is minimum requirements.
Yeah. No, I mean, Apple do this thing where they look at what everyone else is doing, and then when everyone else has done it, they go, okay, I see what you've done there. We'll wait 2 years, we'll refine it, we'll perfect it, and then we'll release it ourselves, and we'll claim it's new technology. It's not new technology. Yeah. Other devices have had it for years.
Yeah.
If you look at the new iPhone, for example, they're on about, they've bought this button in for the camera. And there's Android phones that have had that years ago. I'm not stupid. Apple do it as this marketing ploy. I prefer iOS devices because they're so fucking clean and easy and they just work all the time. That's a preference though. It's got nothing to do with I think iPhones are better than Android or vice versa. And I really fucking hate this world where everyone's like, oh, you're an iPhone user. Oh, you fucking slave. Shut up.
I do think there's a slight elitism in iPhone users though.
I think as an iPhone user, I've only ever experienced the opposite.
Yeah.
I have an Android, so I'm better than you because I chose to use Android over iOS. Why can't people just have what they want and who cares?
Because no, that's not how the world works.
I don't. It annoys me.
Yeah.
I don't give a flying fuck that you have a Samsung and I have an iPhone. Makes no difference to me at all.
I hate using these things with a passion. The operating system just makes no sense.
But that's because you're not used to the OS.
Yeah.
It's not because it's a bad product. You're just not used to the OS. So I get it. And if I was to pick up an Android device, I'd probably be the same. But fucking because I'm so used to that because I've used it for so long. I'd probably be the same. So I get that entirely. But anywho. Oh, I've lost. Oh, hang on. I've got fan funding now. I've got the option. Yes. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. Cats, thank you for the 5. AoS equivalent of Jotan. Caradron. Joverlords.
I'll take that.
He says thanks, JK, who then later does super chat to who says, Kazarin, you thief.
Yeah. Just taking someone's already funny thing and just.
Yeah.
But I do like the Cadrons. I need to run the Cadrons at some point. Lee's currently doing some more infantry for me because currently it's like the army is currently just characters and boats.
Yeah.
Which is not a problem in itself, but as a functioning
I have
army
asked
is
him
not
for
great.
some more of the things that you wanted.
Yeah. Because he's basically done every single giant unit now, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Hasn't he got the big who's the big angry man? With the 4 legs. The destruction man. That one.
Yep.
Got that one as well.
I don't know, I haven't given it to him yet.
Yeah.
He's down soon, so maybe I'll take it home and give it to him. Nobody, thank you for the 2. He says Android tablet fun. Thank you for the 2, but I don't need 2 tablets, I only need the 1. Because Android. Harbour, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships.
I hope that you don't leave the house ready for an entire day and then spill coffee on yourself.
Yeah, that'd
like
be
I
awful.
did. I did that in my car on the way here. There's a little stain on my t-shirt. So annoying.
Kragnos, thank you, mate, man. That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for the 5 gifted. Evan, thank you for the 1 gifted membership. You're a hero. Ash, thank you for the 2. I don't know anyone who buys Kill Team for 40k. I think you're lying. I mean, you literally know us, and that's what we do. So you do.
Yeah.
You do know people that buy Kill Team. I mean, you're like 13 years old. You probably just don't know anyone in general. Awful game. But thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. You're a legend.
I hope that when you go and buy a Tesco meal deal or equivalent meal deal from other people, the sandwiches are fresh. I got a BLT from Tesco's this morning from the trolley from filling it up, and I was like, oh.
That's 21 gifteds we're at so far,
Yeah,
Joe.
21 seconds to go.
There's actually 79 to go.
Oh.
It's a lot more than 21.
Yeah.
21 will just get us to 42, which is the answer to life in the universe.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Saying I think.
You don't. Resident Rubdick, thank you for the 5. Lukewarm take. Dwarfs should have been kept as one faction with more variety. So
Yeah.
if you had, so I guess this means keeping Fire Slayers with Caradron Overlords, kind of unifying the theme and look a little bit and having it as one single dwarf-based faction. Think that'd been better?
Yeah, because like, if you look at the old world dwarves that are still available in City of Sigmar, which I'm 100% convinced that when that Cities book comes out, they're going.
You reckon?
I reckon they're gone. If you look at that stuff, you've got Iron Breakers, Iron Drakes, Hammerers, a couple characters. You've got the Gyrocopter, the Gyro Bomber. All great units, all beautiful models. And that's the kind of dwarf range that I really, really like because it's classic dwarves.
Yeah.
It would be cool to then have them as a more flushed out with newer model range, and then you can have a bunch of Slayers have turned up, but with nicer models, and then you've got like some balloon men have turned up, kind of thing, to help because the Cadrons themselves are basically like sky pirates and just deliverers. They're just like UPS.
I like Age of Sigmar. I really like the model range, and from the little bit of reading and listing I've done, I quite like the lore. There is a tiny portion of me. Actually, that's a bit of a lie. It's not a tiny portion of me. There's a slightly larger than tiny portion of me that wishes that they hadn't have gone to this new AoS lore, and instead it was still high elves and wood elves and dwarves, but they had the sculptors and the technology that they had to make the AoS range. I look at things like the Lumineth, and I really love the Lumineth range.
Yeah.
I think the Lumineth range is stunning, and I think it's beautiful. If the same designers and sculptors with the same technology that made Lumineth were allowed to just make high elves, I wouldn't take a second look at
This is
Lumineth.
what I find mental about the old elf releases are coming out like slower than like new diseases, and like you think like what really bugged me when the Bretonnians came out, they were like, you've got a new Pegasus Lord, stunning, new Knight Infantry, stunning, new character, well, a resculptor of an older character on a Pegasus, absolutely stunning, and then despite the fact that we've done new Knights on foot, you're just stuck with the old Knights of
Old
the
Pegasus,
Realm
yeah.
on the horses. And then we've got a new Pegasus character, old Pegasus Knights.
Yep.
Like, they had to design 2 kits, And then obviously you've still got like the peasants and stuff. But it's like, why didn't they just do an entirely new army for them? This is an army that wasn't even available much in 8th edition. Like in 8th edition, Bretonnians and stuff were like an old kit that Games Workshop weren't really serving. I just feel like Games Workshop has access to these designers. Why not just do less models in that army range, but nicer kits? And then Old World would just sell better.
I wonder if they worry, though, that, they'll just outsell AoS if they did that. Which is, I think, entirely plausible. Because, like I said, if they went, here's a whole brand new high elf army, all plastic, all resculpted, with our current technology, I wouldn't be taking a second look at Lumineth. I wouldn't, because I think at that point I'm sold.
But then what happens is the people that like Lumineth buy Lumineth, the people that like high elves buy high elves. And for instance, you might not want to play Old World, but you might want to still play AoS. You just buy the high elves and just use them in AoS.
Yeah.
There's nothing that stops you from that. But do you think it's because Lumineth and High Elves are so closely similar that Games Workshop like we don't need to do 2 kits because we've already got kits?
I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? I don't know. I like the Lumineth stuff. I do. I like all of the elf like lore and range in AoS. As a big elf fan, as you well know.
Yeah.
I do like it, but I don't know if I would go as far as
I feel like
love
copyright has something. to do with
Stick
this.
Monkeys just said can't copyright High Elves, can you? Lumineth though. Yeah, I think that's the whole point in AoS in the first instance. I think the whole launch into the AoS realm away from fantasy was all because of copyright.
Yeah.
Because you can't copyright elves and goblins and dwarves, but you can do Caradron Overlords and Lumineth and fucking Gloomspite Gits.
Yeah.
You absolutely can.
What I'd like to see there in like the new cities range is new city style dwarfs and elves.
Guy says AoS is beautiful but boring. Bit like my missus. At the moment, I'll be honest, I'm inclined to agree. And despite what some dickhead said on a comment recently about how we're just GW shills, and every time a new edition comes out, we say it's great because we're their marketing tool, and then afterwards we say it's terrible. That's not true. I think AoS is one of the best games they've ever made from a balanced perspective and from a game that just comes out and works. I'm just bored of it at the moment. Joe isn't.
I absolutely love it.
We're actually giving a fucking quite a balanced approach to AoS right now.
AoS is, in my opinion, I would probably, if I had more people to play it with, I would probably end up playing it more than I play 40k.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite at the moment. I want to play more 40k.
Yeah, it's like I'd love to do more AoS, or I haven't done any AoS events yet, but I'd love to do some AoS events and just go and play it because they just seem like a real sound lot.
Yeah.
Every time talk to people that have done AoS events, they're like, they're just so much better.
What are you doing at Beachhead? You want to do AoS or 40k at the moment?
I'm doing 40k at the moment.
Yeah, but we can change it if you
I
want
know.
to.
I'm going to do 40k. I think.
All right. So this is interesting. I'm not trying to pick at you here, Joe. This is where it's interesting because you just said I'd actually rather play AoS. I think I'd play more AoS. I'd like to do AoS events. I'm like, cool. Beachhead, you can do 40k AoS. What are you going to do? And you've gone, yeah, I'll do 40k.
I'm going to do 40k because everyone I know that's going is playing 40k.
So
it's one of those ones where it's like everyone's off doing 40k and I'm off on my own playing.
Yeah, but the likelihood of you
AoS.
actually about like running into me or Paddy or Ben or whatever when we're playing 40k is probably close to zero.
Yeah, but then when you have your sit down chats and things, because everyone ends up talking about their games and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I played AoS, and everyone's like, yeah, we play 40k.
Okay.
It's like if more people were playing in the AoS event that I knew, I would probably go play AoS. But I don't want to be just sat off there on my own.
I just think
because I like a big events to be. It's like a group exciting thing to do, isn't it? You know, and
I'm very much looking forward to playing in the 40k event.
yeah.
Genuinely looking forward to playing in the 40k. Despite the fact that I probably will lose all 5 games.
I'm just bringing a stupid list to Beachhead. I keep looking at like lists and stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to have an army where I have to try hard for 5 to 6 games. Like, I don't want that involves much lateral thinking.
That's fair.
So I'm like 18 Sangard.
I had so much fun at Mikey's event, despite the fact that I got absolutely battered for 3 games, just running my Eldar, that I'm intending to do something similar again with an army that functions a little bit better than the last one I wrote.
Yeah.
But it's essentially still just shit that I want to take. And we'll take you on the journey, we'll go through it, because Joe's going to have to probably paint most of it.
Yeah.
He said, I'm actually close to having my 2 main characters. I've got to paint their heads to a tabletop standard and do a touch of highlighting. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm gonna varnish them and leave them alone. They're not finished, but they're tabletop, right? So you can play with them. And that's why I think that's what I'm gonna do with the whole army. I'm incredibly close to having the same for 10 Wraithguard as well.
Nice.
12 models, Joe, that I would have done. So this is because I'm getting excited about playing 40k events again, and I think it's because I've just lifted this burden off of I need to win every time off my shoulders altogether.
The Warhammer Games Club says they run some great. I've heard good things about. The pool is literally like 40 minutes from my house, so like the problem is that every time they run them, it's always on the day I have my child. Yeah. So it's one of those I might just abandon my child.
Fuck off your child, yeah, it's easier that way.
And then
Josh, thank you for the $5. Was 40k better off as a narrative? Was 40k better off as a narratively stagnant game setting pre-8th, given how poorly they have botched the narrative progress with the game?
I don't know. I like the so 7th edition. It was always like, was it like 5 minutes to midnight kind of thing? You know, it was always something was going to happen, but it was always about to happen, and then it happened. I think 8th edition progressively is probably one of the best editions that we've ever had lore-wise, because it was like this great edition of discovery and new things.
I think post 7th, so pre 7th, where the narrative was basically just frozen in time.
Yeah.
Post 7th, I think I've enjoyed it more. If you think about what's happened, right? If you think about the fracture of Beltan, the awakening of Unid, Gulliman returning, the Lion returning, Angron returning, like, I think it's been exciting. Cadia breaking. They've gone through some very major events in the 40k universe, which has got me excited about 40k narrative. Now, I quite like heresy narrative. My favourite fantasy narrative outside of Lord of the Rings is the 40k narrative scene.
Yeah.
So when that's stagnant, I lose a bit of interest. I've already said that the Elder Army I'm painting, a lot of my focus is on trying to make it Ynnari. I love the Ynnari narrative, and that's a new narrative. It's a new narrative, essentially. I think that the narrative since 7th edition has been fantastic. There's a couple of little caveats. I'd like to see slightly less plot armor.
Yeah.
Which we kind of saw. Cadia breaking was slightly less plot armor, but there was a part with the whole Cadia breaking stuff with Abaddon and Calgar, where Calgar's plot armor kicks in again.
Yeah.
I'm like, you built it right up and built up and built up and got really excited, and then you went, plot armor, gone. Yeah. And that, my only thing with 40k is I wish there was slightly less plot armor, but characters sell models. Yeah. So maybe they won't ever do that.
Well, it's like a weird thing, isn't it? Because we had a brief period in 6th, 7th edition where we were getting new stuff, but some of it was historical within the range of 40k at the time. So, but that normally came from things like Forge World. So, like Forge World, you had the Badab War, which was set before then, because basically you had a bunch of loyalist Space Marine chapters that also turned evil, you know, and then we ended up with like the Astral Claws were then, and then they died, and then they became the Crimson Slaughter. Kind of not Crimson Slaughter, but you had like a bunch of stuff, and then you had the Elysian Drop Troopers, were like a weird narrative Imperial Guard regiment, because they were released in the book, but by the end of the book they were all dead.
Josh, sorry, I've seen a comment. I can't now go back to normal comments on this on YouTube, because YouTube's still dicking us about. He said, yeah, so they've released some great narrative at 8th. How long ago was 8th? But they never finish it, which is true. But I wonder if that's on purpose.
Yeah.
Here's the start of something super exciting. Off you go, fans.
Yeah.
Go and play the universe.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's done on purpose or not. It's either very poor and they go, here's a new thing, and here's a new thing, and here's a new thing. And who could start loads and loads of things and not finish a single one? Who does that? That's very poor from a business perspective. Or they kind of do it on purpose, and they're going, here's this new thing, off you go have fun in that sandbox, which is possible, I guess. I don't know.
But also, you need to think like maybe Games Workshop's just playing the role of the Warhammer universe, right, which is all based on warp travel, right? So there's a great book I've just finished reading called Baneblade, which is about a Baneblade super heavy company. And there's a kid that joins the Baneblade company, and the guy in charge of the tank is like mid-40s. But the planet he's come from, that guy is a revered legend. There's statues of him. And that was like hundreds of years ago. But for him, it's only been like 20 years since he left his home planet.
Yeah, they do have, you said this before, you said this specifically before in 40k, they have a lot of get out of jail free cards.
Yeah.
Like, I just rubbed my microphone, sorry if you heard that. Yeah. They have a lot of get out of jail free cards, and they'll be like, oh, and he just teleported onto a spaceship.
Yeah.
He's fine.
Yeah, so it's like
the warp is the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's only been 2 days for him.
Yeah, so like in the Talon of Horus book, for the guys in the warp, it had been like barely 100 years. but for the Imperium, it'd been 1,000 years, and Sigismund had literally been sat outside the Eye of Terror, but fighting battles for 1,000 years. So for them to like pick up a narrative like the Leviathan one, go over to Prior Nexus, and then 2 years later go back to the Leviathan, like in terms of narrative, that Leviathan thing is still relatively new and fresh.
Yeah.
Like no time has passed.
Yeah, it's an interesting way that they built this fantastic cool universe where they can basically do what they want and find the reason that it works.
It's basically the Marvel multiverse now.
Yeah, essentially, a little bit.
Yeah. We could do whatever we want, we can say whatever we want, because it's literally, everyone's millions of light years away, but it's all happening simultaneously, but some's in the future, some's in the past.
Yeah. John McCardle, thank you for 20 gifted memberships.
Thank you, John.
20 gifted, chat.
Thank you. I hope that your partner and your children go away for a week, just leave you at home to do whatever you want, and you've got a week off on holiday.
That's probably the strongest hope you've ever given, John.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you like that one.
Just an empty house to yourself, do what you want, get your friends over, play 40k, play Heresy.
Yeah. Thank you, John, for 20 gifted. That's incredible. And thank you, the Linux Experiment, for 5 more gifted memberships. You hero. What a legend. He's got a fancy tick as well. That puts us, chat, on 46 gifted members. 46. Talking about fancy ticks.
Oh, hang on, the Linux Experiment.
Linux Experiment.
Same thing.
Yeah.
He cannot get. Why isn't his symbol is a penguin?
Right.
I hope that.
Oh, you got hope.
Yeah. When you go to Greg's, they've got an ample supply of all the things that you want, which are hot as well. Ooh. I went to Greg's the other day, picked up a steak bake for myself and a bean bake for my partner, and stone cold.
They've got, do you know the Morrison's opposite my house?
Yeah.
You know the fuel station?
Yeah.
They've just converted it into 24 hours with a Greg's in it as well. Oh. Paying for fuel now, Joe, is a dangerous place to be. You've got to pay at pump.
That's what the...
You've got to pay at pump. Otherwise you walk in.
The mini Asda near mine, is the petrol station that's now an Asda, has also got a Greg's in it.
Yeah. Talk about people with fancy ticks. Mr. Luton's here as well. So we're on 46 gifted, chat, ready. It would be fantastic for the first Liam and Joe AoS show in 4 weeks, 3 weeks, to have 100 gifted again.
Yeah.
I'll ask you this in just a second. I've got a question for you, Luton, based on what we've just been talking about, right? But Electman's paid. In fact, I'll ask you now before we read Electman's out, right? Because it's relevant to what we were just talking about. Because Luton says it irks people when he reminds them of the fact that it's so flexible. For me, Luton's like the narrative man for 40k, right? How do you feel like it's been for the last 3 or 4 years, 9th edition onwards? Because I still think it's been good, but there's Josh came in chat and was like, Gilliman comes back, fundamentally changes how the Imperium works. Quite interesting. The Lion comes back, nothing really.
Yeah, I think we're because obviously narratively the Lion and Gilliman haven't met yet. Like that hasn't happened. So, there needs, because obviously there was a lot of narrative kind of chat going on that the idea that with the Lion coming back and meeting Gilliman creates almost like a civil war, which would be cool to have a civil war in the middle of the 40k. What we want is that a civil war to start, and then someone like the Rust turning up to really cause problems. Yeah,
okay. I think the narrative's been okay. Oh, by the way, Linux is how it's pronounced, not Linux. Linux. Sure, it should be spelt Linux then.
I've always called it Linux.
It depends on what you want. There's a lot of new started points that have not been concluded. Octarius was disappointing, but look at the call books. Have been very interesting.
The call books are really good.
Right.
There's like a lot of heavy narrative in that that also tie into parts of like the Horus Heresy books as well. They're really good. It's all about like Fabulous Bile and Call basically fighting off on how to create new Primaris Marines, how to create new Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah.
So it's all happening, but it's all happening in the background in obscure books.
So Luton also says, I'd say it's not been very fulfilling in a resolved way, but things have been moving forward in a very interesting way. They need to kick it up a notch. So I think he's kind of agreeing with Josh here.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of narrative happening, but they've not really concluded anything.
Yeah.
They're not really.
But they don't. What they need to do is, this is one of the problems that, like, a real poor use of Warcom, right, is that you only know about these things if you absorb loads and loads of Black Library books.
Yeah.
If you're listening to like the Call books, the Fabulous Bill books, the Storm of Fire books, if you're absorbing all of those, you're getting loads and loads of information. But if you're not getting anything. So this is where Warcom needs to have like a bi-weekly section of like, here's an update on what's happening, you know? And then they use that as a selling point to sell more Black Library books.
Yeah. Oh, well, or you could just go and find people like Luton who probably just paraphrase it all for you, and you can consume it in a couple of hours rather than 12
Yeah, but it'd
hours.
also be great for like Luton. Let's say Luton hasn't read a book that's like important, then the Games Workshop would be like, here, you know? Obviously, chat's talking about the Yellow King.
Who?
The Yellow King, the King in Yellow, who's part of the Eisenhorn book series and then the Beckwin book series. And spoiler alert, the book's been out for ages, it's Valdor. So Valdor's still kicking about, doing things. I won't tell you what he's doing, because go and listen to the Beckwin books or read the Beckwin books. But Valdor is still, he's up to stuff, and which is going to be highly influential to the narrative. But they've just not. But it was so. What he's doing is so influential that Dan Abnett had to go to Games Workshop and petition them for months to put it in the book.
I think part of the problem I have personally, though, is my favourite faction. So someone said earlier, the lore's been great unless you're a Xenos fan.
Well, the Xenos stuff's kind of picking up now. So with, what's his name? Axeman for Eldar.
Fugan.
Yeah. Yeah, so the background lore for him is that his...
What was that?
That's his melter gun. He fires it into the air when he kills people.
Okay.
Is that his background lore, his sole job for the Eldar, because it is written, you know, so it is written, is that he has to go and collect and find all of the Phoenix Lords to then fight. Then they'll all fight in the End of Days.
The Ranadandra.
The Ranadandra, which would then birth the actual Iliad.
Yep.
And he's the last one to die. His is very similar to Dante's in a way. Like they have a very specific job to do, a prophesized death that will happen, but Games Workshop's kind of just banked it. But with the return of Fugan means that storyline's being pushed forward a bit.
Yeah.
So, like,
I want more Elder narrative, to be honest with you, because I'm now listening to the James R for the fourth time through, because I constantly go to Audible hunting for Eldar narrative. I listened recently to a shorter story about Lilith, which was quite good.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed that, because I don't mind if it's Drakari, Harlequin or Craftworlds, but...
Is that the Queen of Knives book?
Yeah, I think so.
I've not listened to that one yet.
It's actually quite good.
Yeah.
I think you'd enjoy it.
I want to get it, but it's like I've got a very specific spending budget on Audible credits. The 6-hour area mark, I don't sometimes feel is worth an Audible credit a month.
No, I'll gift it to you. Fuck it.
That's all right.
I think I can gift it with you with a credit. So,
Yeah.
Cool. Alec, man, thank you for the 5. Just saying, AoS has less plot armor. Spoiler warning: at the end of third, they killed off a named Stormcast Eternals character, Garviel Sureheart, and a city of Sigmar.
Never heard of him.
But I don't want to upset Alec Man, because I love Alec Man. He's in chat a lot and he really loves his AoS. AoS can have less plot armor because less people give a fuck about it. So people care about the AoS lore a little bit less. People in the 40k universe are so invested in the 40k universe. They're so invested that when fucking Yarrick was killed off, he's not. We don't even know if he's killed off yet. When Yarrick was supposedly killed off, fucking everyone kicked off about it.
Yeah.
Loads of people were pissy about it. AoS, they kill off this character, like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but Yarrick is a character that's been in the game for 30 odd years.
Exactly.
Like 30 odd years, has had multiple model iterations, and then he was killed off in the background. Killing, I'm pretty Garviel, correct me if Garviel Shoreheart was a random Stormcast character they invented for like Silver Tower,
I don't know.
right? So he might have had a model, but like they killed him for like no one cares because he's new and obviously AoS isn't as big. If they turn around and said they've killed, the problem is with Stormcast, right? Killing Stormcast doesn't matter because they come back to life.
Get
reforged. If they killed Abaddon, right, that's a massive thing. If Abaddon becomes dead, right, that creates a massive power vacuum with inside Chaos. Who's going to come in, which then creates even more infighting in Chaos. So that's a massive plot, like, section, right? People were pissed off because, like, they could have killed Yarrick, right? Yarrick dying doesn't matter necessarily to the world of 40k, but what he deserved was another War of Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
A whole campaign about a war in Armageddon where Angron turns up and then they have a massive epic battle at the end and then he dies and then he's honoured, you know, and obviously Ghazghkull Fracker's there, he finds out, which then creates a fight between the World Eaters and the Orcs instead of a really shit Warcom article.
Yeah. Evan says, and she, who's obviously Tau, the Ethereal, got the boot also, not even mentioned in the Codex. Yeah.
And Shree, wasn't he killed by an assassin?
Wasn't he killed a long time ago and it was just a projection anyway? Well,
Yeah.
That's Unvar, wasn't it?
Yeah, one of them was killed by an assassin. But then the thing is, though, right, they killed off a bunch of Tau characters in a cool narrative book, which had White Scars and Raven Guard in, you know, and when they were paddy balling around everywhere. I kind of think they need to have cool ways of killing characters that's a bit more present.
I feel like just currently, there's not as many people invested in the AoS narrative. There's not many people deep in the AoS narrative. So when they do kill off a character, people seem to care a little bit less than they did in 40k. That being said, I do personally wish that there was slightly less plot armor in 40k.
Yeah.
And that, so there's shows I like. Some are based on actual history, some are complete fantasy. And you look at things like Game of Thrones, Band of Brothers, Walking Dead, right? So we've gone from modern day zombies to complete high fantasy with dragons to based on factual Second World War. And one of the things I think makes all three of those seasons quite exciting in places is that main characters die.
Yeah.
Main characters are not safe.
No.
And so when you know a main character is not safe, you're on the edge of your seat a little bit more because you're going, I don't know if this character is going to survive or not.
Yeah.
So because you don't know if this character is going to survive or not, you kind of sat there on the edge of your seat going, what happens?
Yeah.
How does this play out?
Well, yeah.
And so I think that adds to the excitement. When you're reading a 40k book, for example, that includes, for sake of argument, Calgar, you're going, well, he's not going to die because he's Calgar. So some of the excitement goes away.
I think so. With the return of Gilliman, right, they could have killed off Calgar.
They could have.
Yeah.
They were never going to, but they could have.
Yeah, but they could have done. And I think Gaze Workshop probably could have killed off Kato Sicarius because he's not had much model love since. He's just become a bit of a background
But
character.
then conversely, and I say this as an Eldar fan, currently fucking painting this model, but they killed Eldrad.
Yeah. And then brought him back to life again.
And they brought him back to life again. Why?
I don't know. Model sales, I don't know.
And the model's stunning, and I've got the model, and I'm painting the model not as Eldrad, but as in my own custom scheme, and he's going to be called something else. And I'm not even using Eldrad's rules.
Yeah.
Just using a Farseer's rules, because I think the model's so cool. But they killed him off.
Yeah.
So let him be dead.
Without sounding like a depressing ex-girlfriend, you know, I wish Gabriel Seth was dead.
Because it makes it easier that you can't take him.
It makes me easier to deal with it, you know? So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so it's like if the New Blood Angels Codex came out, right, and Seth died fighting Kabanda, Angron, Mortarion, right, in an epic duel, and that was like a massive 2-3 page spread in that codex about how he died, and then some new character or there's like they're bringing like a new character in to fill his spot. Doesn't have a model. He's a new character. I don't really care enough about it, but I know that I've had a satisfying ending of that character. Right? We've got new Flesh Tearers transfer sheets. You know, like we've got like the Flesh Tearers are still going. They're still existing. But Seth isn't the figurehead anymore. That's a nice, satisfying, warming end. You know, instead of just didn't bother with a model. There's no rules.
Yeah.
Just sodded them up.
Which goes back to Josh's point earlier, right?
Yeah.
It's about closing the loop.
Yeah.
It's about finishing it off rather than just starting it and going,
I don't want to go in. When did the end of the Death Part 3 come out? Can we talk about this?
I mean, it came out quite a while ago.
Yeah.
I think it's safe.
What happened to Garviel Loken?
Spoilers. There you go. You've had a warning.
Spoiler alert. If you haven't done the end of the Death Part 3 yet, you've got like a 5-minute warning. Well, don't listen to 5 minutes. Basically, Garviel's dead. Right? He was killed by a massive douchebag. You know? So, but that closed the circle. The whole Horus Heresy book started with Garviel and it ended with Garviel. You know, it was very clean, very good, very nice.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. It was a horrible death. But his death then created Samus. You know, so out of his death was created a thing. But obviously he was plagued by Samus. It was a very good storyline. So I think with that was quite nice. When they kill off random characters randomly, so who's the Death Guard guy?
Dave.
No, who became a Grey Knight?
Frank.
No. Told. What is his fucking name?
Freddie.
He's got a character model. He's actually got a model. He's a Death Guard. Became a thing for Malkador. Chat will tell us. But he got killed off in a random novella. Wasn't even part of the main story. He died in a little book. If you're Garrow is his name. Garrow. They killed off Garrow randomly in a side book, which was a little bit annoying for him because he kind of deserved a better death. But if you really like Garrow, you probably would have read that book anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think but it closed things off. It was nice.
Mike says it's not fair to downplay AoS lore when we haven't had 30 years like 40k. A lot of us are still waiting for an Arcane update. Mike, that's my point though, mate. That's literally my point. Like, so you're saying it's not fair to downplay AoS lore when we haven't had 30 years like 40k. In the same breath, then it's also not fair to say AoS hasn't got plot armor, because you're right, you haven't had 30 years of lore as well. So they're not comparable. You can't compare the two. You can't say AoS lore is better than 40k lore because there's no plot armor, because you haven't had 30 years. If you had 30 years of AoS lore and the game was as popular and the setting was as popular as 40k was, then you'd be like, and they still didn't have plot armor, you'd be like, actually now you can compare the two. But you can't compare the two. In fact, I'd often suggest that the Liam and Joe shows specifically are case in point. So I'm not a narrative expert by any stretch of the imagination in any of the games that I love, because I don't really care too much about being super in-depth in narrative and know everything. My narrative expert is that man right there. He consumes narrative fucking constantly and knows more about, for example, the 40k universe than I will probably ever know. And I'm not going to try and compete with him on that. I actually quite like it. I could just ask Joe. And we start talking about AoS narrative on Liam and Joe shows, and inevitably, and it always happens, and if you look back, it's always happened, we end up talking about 40k narrative. Because it's just got more.
Yeah.
So I don't think, like, if people were going to throw at me things like, well, AoS doesn't have plot armor. Correct, it doesn't, really. Yeah. And I think that's a good thing, but you also don't have 30 years of narrative that people are invested in.
Like, AoS does have its own version of plot armor as well in the Stormcast. Obviously, someone said that Be'lakor has found a way that Stormcast can't recreate themselves. But, you know, if they've killed that character off, then he is non-essential to the storyline going forward. So he was cool, but he's non-essential now. But also, you're talking about a game that has a realm of death, right? So when people die, they can still come back as skeletons and zombies and things.
Yeah.
Or people who are human can get turned into vampires, or they become demons.
The thing is, I often think with AoS and 40k, I think it's very easy for us to try and compare the two.
Yeah.
Because they're Games Workshop's two main game systems, they're both on 3-year release cycles, they both have a main rulebooks and codexes, but it is actually comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah.
They are two very different things.
I think this is what I would. This is a film situation which, to you, which I would call like the labyrinth effect.
Okay.
Right? We have 40k now, and we're very invested in 40k now because we watched it as children,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So everyone that's watched Labyrinth is like, Labyrinth is incredible. It's one of the best films ever made. A masterpiece from David Bowie, right? I never watched it as a kid. I watched it 3 years ago. I thought it was shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I have no interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is so people that didn't consume vast amounts of 40k stuff, right, when they were kids, might not find it as interesting, but they might find AoS stuff because it's a lore that's starting from new. It's kind of like if I tried to get you to watch Starship Troopers now, you'd probably hate it.
Yeah, because I didn't watch it as a kid.
Yeah,
which is interesting because I recently started watching the Star Wars films again,
Yeah.
which are graphically probably just as shit as Starship Troopers, but because I watched it as a kid, nostalgia kicks in.
Yeah. So I think 40k, what we have now is that people are more invested in 40k, so the characters have more meaning to us. It's like when, like you said, talking about Game of Thrones. If I try to talk to my partner about Game of Thrones, she probably wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Couldn't care less. So I think it's down to personal preference. So I could tell her about the Hold the Door episode, which is an emotionally destroying episode. Hold the door.
Yeah.
Hold the door. Whereas she'd be like, I don't care. But someone died in Emmerdale. And I'm like, I couldn't care. So I think
A plane crash into the farm.
Yeah. So I think we're getting with talking about plot armor and AoS has got better lore than 40k or 40k has got. We're just getting into the realms of iOS versus Android.
Yeah, they're apples and oranges.
Yeah.
They're two different things. Absolutely.
So I think there will be plot armor in AoS, but we don't know enough about the AoS lore. I'm learning about AoS, but I'm very picky about what my AoS lore is that I'm doing because I don't like the AoS lore that involves Stormcast. It's really boring. For the same reason why up until a couple of years ago, until I really got invested in Horus Heresy, I didn't like Space Marine lore, like books. Wake up, pray, kill heretics, pray, eat lunch, pray, kill more heretics, pray, go to bed. That's kind of what they were. That's why I always like human books. So the same for AoS. I consume a lot of AoS lore that's based on death because it appeases more of my high fantasy kind of horror genre.
Interesting. Is the next one, I can't go back to fan funding, is the next one yellow? That we haven't hearted yet. Is the next one Kazarian Super Chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that the one? Because I'm going to read it out, Joe. I just need you to tell me that I haven't missed one. Kaz, thank you for the 10. Work went to hell in a handbasket around 30 minutes before you went live. Typical, when I've been waiting for AoS content. Hot take, in AoS, whole realms falling hits harder than new planets falling. Does it? Have whole planets fell? Whole realms fell?
Like whole realms fall to chaos and then they get taken back again.
I don't know the AoS lore well enough to comment.
So the thing about the realms don't get destroyed. They just get taken over by someone and then eventually they just kind of take it back. Saul Rothman. Yes, I have read Spear of the Emperor. It's an incredible book. Yeah. I make sure everyone should read it.
Thanks for the 10 though, Kaz. I hope your work has calmed down so you
So when a realm in AoS gets taken over, so Kragnos comes in, takes over a realm, smashes up Azir, and then they just take it back. It's not. Whereas if you destroy a planet, that planet's not coming back.
Yeah.
Right? The fall of Cadia is now massively ingrained in all of the lore because it's a massive plot point.
Yeah, I mean, I love Kaz to bits, but he's like some other people in chat, he's a bit of an Android man, basically.
Yeah.
Like, I think AoS is better than 40k, you'll never convince me otherwise.
Yeah, but 8 of the 9 realms fell during the Age of Chaos, but they got them back.
Yeah. It got better.
It got better.
It turned me into a newt.
Yeah. Like, and then there's this, but AoS is approaching this weird kind of phase, much like 40k 8th edition, where there was a bad time, but it got better. But it's a little bit bad now.
Yeah.
It might get worse.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for 10 though, dude. You're a legend. Stickwicky, thank you for the 5. If you want to keep up on 40k lore and talk about it with a group of funny, sexy nerds, do I have the book club for you? Upgrade to Thane today. The Thane's book club's actually quite good.
Yeah, it's really good.
I don't know when the next one's planned for, but if I'm free, I'm actually tempted just to sit on in it. Genuinely, because I listened to a lot of it when they were here doing the Thane's book club on the Spearhead weekend.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting listening to people talk about it.
You know, I'm going to sound like a little bitch now. The book I have zero interest in won this time. But a lot of people are very excited for it. And that's the great thing about Thanes. You know, it's a democracy that you vote for. And if you don't win, you complain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As with every democracy.
With every democracy.
Yeah, literally the definition of democracy.
So they're currently doing the Araman book at the moment. And I was like, no, I don't want it.
Have you read the Araman book? That's good then, surely, because you haven't read it.
I know, but I'm not fussed about Thousands Sons.
You might be after you've read the book. I know what you're like. You'll read the book and be like, I want to do a rubric army with 100 rubrics.
I don't know, they're too... I can't really get on with, like, Necron narrative either. They've got better.
We're 4 gifted away from 50. There's 211 people watching. If we can get just 4 more before the end of stream, which should be now, but we've got a couple more super chats to get through, then we'll hit halfway mark.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
So I was talking about this bill. I wanted them to do... But my problem with the book club is that I keep giving them too many suggestions and then I get told off by Sean.
Yeah. Because it's kind of a democracy, but not really.
Yeah.
If all 211 of you gift one, we'll probably get to the halfway mark.
It's Sean's little realm of lordship.
It's power, yeah.
But it sounds like, Spirit so good that ADB introduced the Empress Beers as his own successor chapter, and it made me do the Celestial Lions. But the Empress Beers does stunning.
Meat Squadron, thank you for the 2. Next show title, Ask Joe. That'd be fun.
Yeah?
We can do an Ask Joe.
Yeah. Ask me anything.
Ask Joe 40k questions on Thursday. Yeah, I'm into it. Because, Kaz, thank you for 5 more. AoS arguably has reverse plot armor as there's still potential for fantasy characters like Felix Jaeger, Vlad von Casting, etc. to sharp on Sigmar. Yeah, but also, when you look at Evan, thank you for the 1 gifted. 3 to go. If you look at, like, Teclis, he's never going to be killed, is he? Gotrek, he's never going to be killed.
No, he literally spent a mild eternity in the warp killing demons.
Yeah. Nagash, never going to be killed.
No.
Like, I feel like it still has plenty of plot armor in it,
Yeah.
to be fair. I don't know. Again, I don't know enough. I'll be honest with you, Kaz, right? Nick, I don't know enough about AoS lore to really comment. So I have to kind of bow to your great knowledge here, to be honest with you. Because I don't want to be a guy who sits on the internet and be like, this is my opinion, when I don't really have the evidence to form a proper opinion. I know that there's characters in the AoS realm that I would assume, when you look at Kragnos, and you look at Teclis, and you look at, what's her name? Old spear lady on the big bug. Alariel.
Yeah.
And you look at Nagash, and you look at people like that, I'd imagine that they also have plot armor.
Alariel basically a god now.
Yeah, I'd imagine they're never going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So they kind of have plot armor. So which means, and the problem I have with plot armor in general is when plot armor exists and you start listening to or reading a novel that includes the character.
Yeah.
I think this is part of why I have a problem reading the Heresy in general, because I kind of know how it finishes. When you have a problem, when you have a character shows up and you're like, oh, here's Teclis, you're like, cool, well, he's not going to die then, is he? It's Teclis. So I'm less excited now.
Yeah. The thing is, though, like, I suppose the benefit of the benefit of the narrative of Old World is that when a character dies, not Old World, of AoS, when a character dies, it is more meaningful because there's not pre-established lore of them being alive afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, this is what the problem the Horus Heresy has. And I've talked with Josh, the War Hipster, about this. His biggest upset with the Horus Heresy is that there's too many situations where they put characters that are still alive now, or we know that their characters alive afterwards in trouble because like it doesn't mean anything.
Like a Khan or a Lucius or whatever.
Yeah. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, but the fight between Sigismund and Khan is a massive plot point for the development of both characters.
Yeah, correct.
You know? So like Khan dies, but then Khan comes back to life, but we don't know how he comes back to life kind of thing. But Khorne is obviously bringing him back to life kind of thing. Lucius dies in a fight versus Sharrokin, the Raven Guard. Obviously, we know that Lucius can't die, but his death then creates a situation where, like, he can be brought to life, and then Games Workshop can give us the lore behind it. Sharrokin's actually a very important character within the 40k universe as well, but it's only important if you've listened to a side book, which is the Sons of the Selenar, which then follows on into the Belisarius Call books. But there's also situations that they're like, oh, Abaddon's in trouble, he might die, but he doesn't. But his near death also changes him from being the arrogant kind of evil Blackadder twat into a well-meaningful character.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like, but whereas in Age of Sigmar, we don't know, the character gets put in danger, you don't know if they're going to live or die. So that means people were much more attached to the AoS characters because the future for them is unknown.
Yeah.
Apart from the real mainline characters. So there's like Teclis, like Galariel, like Be'lakor. You know, we know they can't die. Be'lakor literally cannot die because he's a demon.
Yeah, I don't know. This is where I think where some of my problems lie. Like, I'm a big Eldar fan. I would have been okay with them, like I said, I'd have been okay with them leaving Eldrad dead.
Yeah.
Because when I talk about when you talk about Game of Thrones, unless you've read the Game of Thrones books, which I hadn't done, did anyone expect at the end of the first season for them to actually chop Ned Stark's head off?
Yeah.
I didn't. I didn't think you'd bring Sean Bean into a season like this and give him fucking 9 episodes before he's killed.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think that was going to happen at all.
Yeah.
You know?
But his death is important to the series.
Of course it is, absolutely, 100%. In The Walking Dead, you know, where there's I think it's season 3 or 4 when they're in the prison, when his missus goes to give birth and dies.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't see that coming.
Erebus and Night Lord, this is the problem with my narrative. Erebus and Cor Ferron are still alive, running about, and they're not demons. They're just still themselves.
I don't know. I feel like when I don't know what the potential fate of this character is, there was a point in Walking Dead when Negan first shows up and he batters Glenn's fucking head in.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the most exciting moments I've had in television because I was like, I didn't think for 1 minute they were actually going to kill him off.
Yeah.
Especially when it's another person battering him to death and not a zombie getting hold of him.
I could have done with Carl being killed in the first series. I hate his character. Coral is...
Coral?
Coral! He could have died much sooner and I would have cared less.
Yeah.
He dragged on. He really, really...
And he got shot through the eye and survived.
Yeah, he had a bit of a redeeming arc for me. He became a bit cooler in the Negan part, but that's only because of how Negan gets along with him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's just an annoying little
Negan
shitbag.
at the start of his appearance was fucking great, by the way. Anywho, Electman. Thank you for the 5. To be fair, the realms aren't gotten back. This is a response to you, Jay. The realms aren't gotten back. The forces of order just managed to establish a few safe zones in a world controlled by their enemies.
That's like the same thing, though, isn't it? No offense, Electman, but right. If the realm was taken, they wouldn't have been able to create these little cities. Like, if it was fully taken, there was no getting back. If it was if Chaos had taken over, turned it into a full demonic realm where humans can't step foot into it, right? Only Stormcast can go and have fights on little floating rocks. I think that would be cooler, you know. So there's no threat because they've created a foothold. Now means that they can then have larger forces come in and fight. I just feel like there's no threat there, because there are these, what are they called? The Crusades. I can't remember the name, but there's just like massive castles and stuff, and there's people that now live in the realm of death, just chilling. Like it's like everyday life
Bastions.
for them.
Yeah. All right. And then we go into some gifted before we can say goodbye to people. Yeah. So thank you so much, Evan, for the one gifted membership.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe's Tech Helpline for the one gifted membership. Thank you so much, Meat Squadron for the one gifted membership. And then...
You missed it.
Thank you so much, Lone Monkey Productions for the 5 gifted memberships.
I love your thumbnail picture, by the way. The little monkey with the crown on.
Yeah.
I hope that for the next year, at no point do you catch your pocket or your belt loop on a door handle.
Oh, that's a strong hope, Joe. That fucking angers me.
It only happens when you're cold and tired and slightly annoyed, so it feels like you've broken a limb when it happens.
My kitchen, for those of you that don't know, my kitchen, you know where the sink is? So the sink is like on an L shape, and the sink literally finishes at the edge of the L shape of the kitchen top, right? Cool, fine. So you stood at the sink, like washing up or whatever, do it using the sink. And then where the sink, if this is the sink like here, and the countertop comes this way, there's a drawer here, we've got our knives and forks in. Cool, no problems. There's a handle on that drawer. For some reason, some evil bastard put a handle on it, which is a metal rod that then has 2 points that attach it. So it's got 2 like overhanging things. Yeah. So you stand there, as you turn around, it just hooks in your pocket.
Yeah.
I don't think how many fucking trousers I've ripped on that fucking handle.
My most annoying thing is when you're doing the washing up and you get like a little splash out, and it's like enough that it won't dry for ages, but it's not so much that like it ruins the whole t-shirt. So you're like, oh, I either have to change my t-shirt or just be damp for a while.
Yeah.
Or you've just like, you decide to do the washing after you've just got dressed and it's like, you're like, oh, I've got to change now. I like this t-shirt and now I can't wear it. Yeah.
We went to, it's not quite the same, but we went to the rugby on Saturday and I was wearing my England rugby shirt.
Very different to doing the washing up.
I was wearing my England rugby shirt.
Yeah.
And the first thing we do when we get to rugby, my dad and I, because we only go like twice a year to go to rugby to watch, because it's a day that I get to spend with my dad, which is, and we do that like 4 times a year and twice a year. First thing we do, we turn up, we get a burger, right? It's like brunch, because we get there like 10:30, and the gates aren't up until 11:30 to go into the stadium where all the fan village is. So first thing Dad says is, I'll get burgers. So I normally get a cheeseburger with onions, right? And I open up and fill it with ketchup. And I got my cheeseburger with onions, and I opened it up, I looked at the ketchup, I looked down at an all-white England shirt, and I was like, we're not going to have ketchup on this one. I'm not because I know what happened. The first bite, down the fucking.
I don't wear white t-shirts anymore.
For that very reason?
I went for like a solid like 2-year period where every time I bought a white t-shirt, I always got bolognese on it.
The first time you wear it as well? Yeah? I swear Lucy used to watch me get dressed in the morning and be like, today we're having bolognese.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why would you do that to me?
Always bolognese as well.
Yeah.
That extra oiliness.
It's when you go with the spaghetti and it goes as it flaps in your mouth and it goes spray down the front. Yeah. Anywho, we are 10 minutes over. We did get to 54 gifted memberships, Joe.
Close enough.
It's not quite 100, so we're going to need to do 146 tonight.
Yeah.
But I think it should be fine.
What are you playing tonight?
What do you want to play against?
I don't mind.
I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest with you.
Don't mind.
I don't know.
Well, Brom ran the baby.
We haven't done Sylvaneth for a while.
Yeah, you not had them for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I might throw some Sylvaneth down because I haven't run them for a while, just because I quite like the Sylvaneth.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility, but we'll see. Other than that, we are done for the Liam and Joe show, the Liam and Joe AoS show, where we mostly talked about 40k lore.
Yeah.
So hopefully you've enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for the 54 gifted memberships, and thank you for the super chats as well. You people are amazing. We'll be back tonight at 7:30 with a live game of Age of Sigmar between Joe and I. In between that, I'm going to go and get us some food. Joe and I are going to go get some food from the supermarket just down the road, and then I'm going to dose myself up on drugs and try and feel better for tonight, and then try and cope through 3 hours stream.
Yeah. Yeah, bro, we've got Brom on deck.
Well, I did think Brom could just sub in and play AoS because he knows how to play AoS, and I could do the deck. I was like, no, I want to go home earlier. So it's like the what's worse, the energy required of playing the game on stream, or the energy required for the extra hour and a half the game will take.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we both want to be home at a reasonable time, Joe, right?
That'd be nice.
Yeah. So hopefully you've enjoyed the show. If you have, please make sure you smash that like button. You can leave comments after the fact if you've got any opinions on what we've talked about. And as always, we read all the comments. Hopefully we'll see you tonight for a 7:30 live game of Age of Sigmar, probably Sylvaneth versus Joe finally playing Fire Slayers. If not, we'll see you in the next one.
Well, have a wonderful time.